Hello, my name is Crystal Washington. I'm a technology strategist and futurist. And you probably have noticed that most of the world is ready to get back to business as usual pre-pandemic, right? That's what we know, that's what we're used to. However, in this new hybrid environment, we're still not always coming face to face with our clients, and that may not change in the near future, right? And so the question becomes, how do we need to shift our digital marketing in this new kind of hybrid era? So specifically what we're going to talk about today is one small but very important component of digital marketing, which is having these online presentations or video content for consumption. Now, even before COVID, that was a part of some of our sales funnels where we get people involved to the point where they have a webinar, or maybe we do some type of presentation to a board. No matter if you're B2B or sometimes even a little bit of B2C, depending on your business model, you might run into these situations. However, what's interesting is, as a professional speaker who was doing virtual all of during the COVID period, one of the things that I was called on to do is do virtual presentations for financial advisors and realtors and people like that who needed help doing virtual presentations. They needed to make sure that their content was engaging, that their clients were converting. And so while that's pretty meta when you think about it, I did find some pretty unique things. Number one, we have to think about how we want the other person on the other end of that screen to have an experience. What do we want them to think about as a result? How do we want them to feel? And so that leads us to our topic for today, which is gamification, okay? We want to gamify our content, whether it's a live presentation, even pre-recorded videos. There's elements that you can add, especially even if it's pre-recorded, if it still has that chat feature where they're seeing the chat comments in the moment and they can add their own. There's all kinds of things we can do to kind of add a little bit of pep to our presentations. So I'm going to give you 5 things that you can do, 5, to add a little bit of pep to your presentations, okay? So number 1, don't be afraid to use polls. But if you're going to use polls, do not make them boring. It might be inserting a poll that's a little funny. It might be inserting a poll that's very serious, but maybe having question or answer D to the question be something that's funny that's going to make the other person on the other end giggle, right? And so just using polls in unique ways. You could actually create a whole game around polling where you have people playing a game and then people are voting on their best answers of the person who answered, right? There's all kinds of things we can do to make sure that we're keeping it interesting. But what we do know is when it comes to virtual video, any of these types of mediums, we want to make sure that we're having some type of gamification or some type of fun element every 10 to 15 minutes because we have to keep their attention. So number 1, we talked about having those polls in there and adding a little bit of humor or something that shocks them out of the moment. So they're like, wait, what? And they continue on and have a good time. All right. Another thing that you can do is have surprise guests. Now, sometimes I'd have experts from from their industry pop up in the interview. It could be that you're having someone else from your team that's higher up, maybe someone from their own organization that's jumping in as well. You can even use tools like Cameo and get celebrities, right? So whoever it is you want to pop up in there, it could be live or it could be a video presentation using, like I said, a tool like Cameo or something like that. But just adding something to break up the content, again, to kind of shock them back, like, oh my gosh, what is Bob Saget doing here? Why is Ice-T, Detective Tutuola, talking to me about my investment options, right? Something to kind of shock people out and get them back to what's fun. It's all about engagement. All right, so that was our number 2. Our number 3 is you can simply ask questions via chat. I like to put up pictures and have people guess different things. And it can have to do with your content for sure. But again, just throwing out those wild card things that almost don't make sense in the midst of the seriousness, it gets people giggling. It shocks them back. It gets them right back in that presentation with you. It gets them right back into that video with you. And again, we don't want to take ourselves too seriously, but I do believe you know your audience better than anyone else. But you might be surprised at the folks that really appreciate just a little bit of humor to add that extra element, okay? This is what professional speakers do, and this is something that you can do as well to keep people engaged. Okay, our number 4, let's say that this is a larger live call, okay? And you know the people that are going to be on the call. Add them to Wheel of Names. You can go to wheelofnames.com and add their names on there. So when you're asking a question or if you have a little giveaway or something, spin it, keep it going. If it's some type of product giveaway, maybe you're trying to convert people into some type of club or video membership or whatever it is you're doing. If it's a larger audience, using a tool like Wheel of Names keeps people engaged. It has that fun kind of element of surprise. So I would suggest using something like that if you want to just add that extra level of game show to your presentation. Okay? And then our last tool today, there's so many things we could talk about, but we only have so much time, and I promised you 5, is leaderboards. You can use leaderboards. And there's all kinds of leaderboard software and online options. I don't want to lead you to one specifically because there's so many, starting at like $2 per leaderboard. But something where you're able to award points to the people that are on the call, maybe based on them giving answers, maybe based on them getting something right in chat. And it might be that you have someone else from your team that's monitoring the back end of the leaderboard on their computer, and they're updating who gets points. They're just adding points to different people by name, and you can always share the current leaderboard. So the best leaderboards have a back end and a front end so that the people participating, they see that front end, but they don't see what's going on the back end. Okay? So at the end of the day, when we're talking about this new hybrid environment where we're still connecting with people, sometimes online rather than in person, maybe that board that you're trying to convince to come on with your products or offerings, maybe they're less likely to travel even now. And so you have to talk to those 10, even maybe 15 people. Making your information fun, infusing a little bit of gamification, it's going to make you stand out from your competitors because not only do you have the goods, do you have the services that they need, but you have a personality that draws them in.